Dave, obviously ahead of the game we talked about just playing here and how it could maybe look a little bit different. Was it essentially just as you expected when you looked at maybe some of that soft contact, especially off of Eric Lauer, that maybe felt just a little unlucky for him?
Yeah, I thought, early he got behind a lot. They did a good job of just putting the bat on the ball, finding some outfield grass. I'm really happy that he kind of found his way right of the ship and then, got through 6 innings for us. But, yeah, I thought tonight it was a great environment. We certainly, as a Dodge, were pretty well represented, and it was good to see the offense come to life. I thought Max, big homer, Shohei, big homer, Andy with the big homer, and then we just took good at-bats all night long. Kyle had some good at-bats, so yeah, solid game.
Even within there, you talk about the offense, but how good is it when you have someone like Teoscar Hernandez comes back in the lineups and is able to produce things early?
It was good. He was anxious to get back and got a left-handed starter, took some really good at-bats, and it was good to get him back in the mix, and he's certainly a presence.
There's a lot of contact in Eric Lauer's stat line, but at the end of the day, it's still another quality start. When the front office signed him, it was essentially to shore up these innings in the back end of the rotation. How critical has it been that he's been able to do so?
It's been critical. Certainly, every time he takes the ball, it seems like he's going 6 innings, and he's given us.
The All-Star Game is just 2 weeks away, and baseball's biggest mystery remains unsolved. Will Shohei Ohtani pitch? Will he hit? Will he do both? Dave, Roberts has managed to keep everyone guessing. And frankly, it's the perfect storyline heading into the Midsummer Classic in Philadelphia. Let me break down everything you need to know about this incredibly interesting situation that's dividing baseball fans across the country. First, let's establish what we know for certain. Shohei Ohtani is definitely going to the All-Star Game. Not only is he attending, but he's been selected as the National League's starting designated hitter. This is his 6th All-Star selection, and he earned this spot as the top vote getter among NL fans in the first round of voting. The fans want to see him play, and they want to see him hit. That part is locked in. Ohtani will be in the lineup as the DH when the game begins on July 14th in Philadelphia. But here's where things get really interesting. Ohtani isn't just a hitter anymore. He's also one of the best pitchers in baseball right now. His numbers this season are absolutely elite. He has an 8-2 record on the mound, which means he's winning at an incredible rate. His ERA is 1.58, and this is a career best for him. When you look at all pitchers with at least 70 innings pitched this season, only one guy has a better ERA, and that's Jacob Misiorowski from the Milwaukee Brewers at 1.45. So, Ohtani isn't just throwing strikes. He's among the very best pitchers in all of Major League Baseball right now. This creates an interesting situation. Should Ohtani pitch in the All-Star Game? It seems like a logical question, right? If he's one of the best pitchers in the league and one of the best hitters, shouldn't he showcase both talents? But here's the problem. There's a massive logistical challenge that nobody is talking about. Ohtani is locked into the batting order as the starting DH. That means when the game starts, he's hitting. He's in the lineup from the very beginning. So, when would he pitch? The answer is surprisingly complicated. Manager Dave Roberts addressed this exact question on Monday during a press conference. When reporters asked him about Ohtani potentially pitching in the All-Star Game, Roberts gave a very diplomatic response. He said, "He'll obviously DH, and then we'll go from there. I don't know where he is with the pitching thing. We'll see." That's essentially manager speak for "we haven't decided yet, and we're still figuring it out." Roberts, Ohtani, and the Dodgers organization are having behind-the-scenes conversations about whether this is the right call. They're weighing the pros and cons, and they haven't reached a conclusion. Now, if Ohtani were to pitch in this game, the only logical option would be for him to be the starting pitcher. He can't just come in relief in the middle of the game while also being the DH in the batting order. That doesn't make sense from a baseball perspective. If he's going to pitch, he has to pitch at the beginning of the game, throw 1 or 2 innings, and then potentially come back to hit later. This creates some interesting scenarios and raises some serious questions about how this would even work within the All-Star Game format. Let me take you back through Ohtani's All-Star Game history to give you some context. In 2021, during his first MVP season with the Angels, Ohtani pitched as the American League starter in the All-Star Game. He threw 1 inning and that was it. That's the only All-Star Game where Ohtani has actually pitched. In 2022, he only served as a designated hitter because the Angels had scheduled a start for him immediately after the All-Star break. The team decided it was smarter to rest him as a pitcher and just let him DH. In 2023, he didn't pitch because he was dealing with a blister on his finger, and you can't throw 100-mile-per-hour fastballs when you're dealing with that kind of injury. For the last 2 years, he was recovering from Tommy John surgery on his pitching arm, so pitching wasn't even an option. So Ohtani has essentially only pitched in 1 All-Star game in his entire career. Everything after that has involved him being unavailable, injured, or having other concerns about his arm health. This year is different. He's healthy. He's ready. He's having arguably the best pitching season of his career. So the question is being asked again. Should he pitch? But here's where it gets even more interesting. There are other incredibly deserving pitchers who also want this opportunity. Take Jacob Misiorowski of the Milwaukee Brewers. This guy is an absolute monster on the mound. His 1.45 ERA is the best in baseball among qualified pitchers. He's got a 9-3 record, and he's struck out 146 batters, which leads all of Major League Baseball. He's the frontrunner for the Cy Young Award. And if anyone deserves to start the All-Star Game, it's arguably him. Then you've got Christopher Sanchez from the Philadelphia Phillies. This is a hometown guy. The game is being played in Philadelphia, and imagine the narrative. Philadelphia's ace pitcher starts the All-Star Game in front of his home crowd. His numbers are also exceptional. He's got a 9-3 record, a 2.13 ERA, and he's leading the National League with 110 innings pitched. So Dave Roberts has to make a choice here. Does he give the starting pitcher job to Misiorowski, who's been absolutely dominant? Does he give it to Sanchez, the hometown hero? Or does he give it to Ohtani, the two-way superstar who wants to do it all? This is the decision that's keeping everyone up at night in Los Angeles and Philadelphia. Let's talk about the logistics because this is really important. If Ohtani is going to pitch in the All-Star Game, he would have to be the starting pitcher. That's the only way this makes sense. He's already locked in as the DH, so if he pitches, it has to be at the beginning. He throws the first inning or maybe the first 2 innings, then he comes back to hit later in the game. But here's the problem. That's never really been done before in an All-Star Game, at least not in this way. You're essentially asking the National League to use both a pitching slot and a DH slot for the same player, which changes the dynamic of the entire roster. MLB might have to make a special concession to make this work. They might have to say, okay, Ohtani can be the designated hitter and also pitch as the starter. This would be unprecedented in All-Star Game history. Or they could potentially adjust the roster rules to allow this scenario to play out without costing the National League their DH spot in the rest of the game. But that requires special permission and special consideration, and Roberts has to decide if it's worth all that hassle. Let's also talk about Ohtani's pitching schedule. This season, Ohtani has been pitching every Wednesday for the Dodgers. That's his regular rotation day. Now, the All-Star Game is on July 14th, which is a Tuesday. So, the timing actually works out perfectly from a scheduling perspective. If he pitches on Tuesday in the All-Star Game, he can take a few extra days off and then get back to his regular Wednesday schedule when the Dodgers resume play after the All-Star break. From a baseball operation standpoint, it's actually doable. There's no major conflict. There's no scheduling nightmare that makes this impossible. But here's the real question that everyone is asking. Should he pitch? Should Dave Roberts, as the National League manager, make the decision to have Ohtani be the starting pitcher in the All-Star Game? Or should he recognize that there are other incredibly deserving candidates like Misiorowski and Sanchez, who have also had phenomenal seasons? This is the philosophical question that's at the heart of this entire debate. Many baseball fans argue that the All-Star Game is about celebrating the best players and the most exciting moments. Fans want to see Ohtani hit. They want to see him launch home runs. They want to see him run the bases with his elite speed and athleticism. If Ohtani pitches for 1 inning and then comes back to hit, is that actually more exciting? Or does it feel like Roberts is just trying to have his cake and eat it too by having Ohtani do both without really excelling at either? On the other hand, some fans argue that Ohtani is literally a once-in-a-generation talent. He can pitch and hit at elite levels. If he's willing to pitch in the All-Star Game, and if it's logistically possible, why not let him showcase his abilities on both sides of the ball? Why not let him pitch an inning or two with that dominant fastball and then come back to hit? That's something most players in baseball history have never been able to do, and it could be an incredibly memorable moment for the Midsummer Classic. I think what's probably going to happen here is this. Dave Roberts is going to have a conversation with Shohei Ohtani. They're going to discuss the pros and cons. They're going to talk about what makes the most sense for the National League's chances to win the game. And my prediction is that Roberts is going to ultimately decide to have Ohtani focus on being the DH. He's going to give the starting pitcher job to Jacob Misiorowski because Misiorowski is having the best season and deserves that recognition. He's the Cy Young favorite. He's been absolutely dominant, and he's earned that opportunity. Ohtani will still be a huge part of the All-Star Game as the starting DH. He's going to hit, and he's probably going to have some spectacular moments at the plate. He might hit a home run that electrifies the crowd. He might have several hits that showcase why he's one of the best hitters in baseball. That's probably going to be exciting enough, and it's probably the smarter decision from a roster management perspective. However, I could be completely wrong about this. Roberts might surprise everyone and decide that having Ohtani do both is worth the logistical challenges. He might think that the narrative of a two-way superstar pitching and hitting in the All-Star Game is too good to pass up. He might decide that Ohtani deserves this opportunity because he's earned it with his spectacular season. In that case, MLB would work out the roster rules, and we get to see something truly special and unprecedented. We're going to find out the answer in the next couple of weeks. Dave Roberts and Shohei Ohtani will make their decision, and they'll announce it to the public. Baseball fans will either celebrate the choice or debate it online for days. That's just how baseball works. Everyone has an opinion, and everyone thinks they know what the right decision is. What I can tell you is this. Both scenarios are viable. Both decisions make sense from different perspectives. If Ohtani pitches, it's going to be a memorable All-Star moment. If he just DHs, it's still going to be an exciting All-Star game with one of the best hitters in baseball in the lineup. Either way, the Philadelphia All-Star Game is going to be fantastic, and we're all going to be watching closely to see what happens. The All-Star Game is always about showcasing the best talent in baseball. It's about giving fans a chance to see their favorite players competing at the highest level. It's about excitement and entertainment and celebration of the game we all love. Shohei Ohtani represents everything that's great about modern baseball. He's a two-way player in a one-way era. He's someone who can pitch and hit at elite levels. Having him in the All-Star Game, whether he pitches or just hits, is going to be fantastic. So here's what we're all waiting for. In the next 2 weeks, Dave Roberts will make his decision. He'll sit down with Ohtani, they'll discuss what's best, and they'll come to a conclusion. Once that announcement is made, we'll probably have a clearer picture of what the National League lineup is going to look like and who's going to be taking the mound as the starting pitcher. But until that moment comes, this remains one of the most interesting questions in baseball heading into the All-Star break. Will Shohei Ohtani pitch in the All-Star Game? Only time will tell, but one thing is for certain. Whatever Dave Roberts decides, it's going to be analyzed, debated, and discussed by baseball fans everywhere. That's what makes this game we love so great. The drama, the decisions, the possibilities. That's baseball.